The following BLTV program is brought to you by O'Flaherty Law. Please enjoy.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to this episode of the Seize Your Business podcast. My name is Bryan McDonald, partner at OnPurpose Growth. And today I've got a special guest all the way from the other side of the globe, Kim Barrett from Your Social Voice. And what we're going to be talking about today is Facebook advertising and some common mistakes that Kim sees people making, as well as some common strategies that people can actually utilize. So Kim, thanks for being on, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
So why don't you give a little bit of background, the listeners or watchers, a little bit of your background, and because I know it's amazing. You've helped a lot of people do this. You guys are hands down one of the best experts in the world. Why don't you share with them your background, and then we'll dive in.
Yeah, for sure. So we're very blessed. We've been able to work with a lot of amazing people, from small businesses and one-man bands up to like really, really big companies and some really cool people as well. So a lot of times when people come across us, they're like, oh, like I've just heard of you guys. Like you guys just popped up today and doing this amazing stuff. And it's like, well, it's been quite a long journey of, so our agency has been running for, it's just our 5th birthday last week, which is awesome. So just ticked over 5 years there from a company perspective. And we've actually, I've been doing online marketing myself for about 15 years. So since I was really a teenager, when I first kind of delved into the world of online marketing and trying to figure things out. And for me, it was always a case that my dad was always a kind of businessy guy who he always was trying to like figure out ways to make more money and leverage, business and opportunities like that. And all the time, the things that I saw was that, well, like you have a business that works successfully and there's lots of people come to it, and there's a business that doesn't. If they sell the same thing and it's really the same offering, why is that the case? And it's always because one would have like lots of people and lots of attention and the other wouldn't. And I was like, well, that doesn't really seem fair to me. It's like, why is that not an equal playing field? And then I started learning more about marketing and advertising, and 9 times out of 10, it's the business that didn't market or advertise was the one that didn't get the attention, was the one that then, would kind of taper off and in some cases close down. So to me, I really wanted to figure out how I could take and apply the skills that I was learning at school around business and marketing and all this sort of stuff, and actually like share that with businesses. So that's really why our business was created, so that we could share those things with companies, because especially small businesses, like when you start a business, you don't start a business because you want to become unless you're an advertising company, and because you want to do advertising, you want to do marketing, bookkeeping, accounting, finance.
No.
Like everyone's like, no, thank you. Like, that's not why I started. I started because I love what I do. And for me, again, that's why I was like, well, most people aren't going to be as passionate about advertising and marketing as I. So why don't I try and develop, systems that people can take them and put them into their business to help their businesses grow, so they can just, at least on that side, focus on doing what they do best, working with their customers and clients.
Yeah, that's great, man. And you hit the nail on the head. And something that always amazed me is that no matter how good you are at what you do, if nobody knows about you, somebody who isn't as good as you can do 10 times better, like crush you, just because of advertising and marketing.
Exactly, and that's the whole thing. It's like there's people that are much smart, like less smart, less good looking, less people, right? And they're and they're out there doing tremendous things. And it's only because they are consistent in that area as well. And that's probably the like jumping across to a little bit of insights. But like the biggest thing for me is consistency that I don't see people do, is because they do something once, they put up a Facebook ad, for example, or they launch a new product or service, and they take it down. It's like, oh, it didn't work. And it's like, well, like there's no consistency, or there's no like length of time given to it to test and measure things out. So like the consistency is what will win. And then if you do have a good product or service and it is lengths and streets ahead of the rest, then you will eventually see that it'll come to fruition. But it takes time. That's where every overnight success is like a 10-year story.
Yeah, that never gets old hearing that, and it's always a great reminder, because it's it's true, right? There's so much truth to that. So before we dive into kind of what you're seeing with Facebook ads and this marketing, why is it important to a small business owner or anybody, right? Like why Facebook?
Well, look, I think for most people, they should be getting the message that social media platforms are here to stay now, like regardless. And Facebook is the really leading platform when it comes to that, especially because they own Instagram, obviously Messenger, WhatsApp. Sometimes I say that and people kind of look at me weirdly, but some people don't realize that Facebook own that full suite. Because I know when Cambridge Analytica came out, I was at a dinner party with some friends, and they were like, "Oh, because of Facebook, I've removed myself from the platform." And I was like, "But how did you find out about tonight's event?" Because we were all in a Messenger group together. They're like, "Oh no, I still have Messenger, and I still have Instagram." And I'm like, "But Facebook own all of those."
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. Like if you were trying to make a statement, you did not a very good job.
Yeah, you didn't, right? You didn't at all.
They're all there still. So for me, I just like to reiterate that to people and going, that's number one, why? Because some people might be like, oh, Facebook's dying off, but they own Instagram, which also you have the advertising platform in Instagram as well. They're rolling things out on WhatsApp over the next year or two also. So that's number one. But number two is that if you already know that the platforms are important and they work, which hopefully people do by now being in 2020, the reason why I would encourage business owners to get on there more aggressively and more if you're not, is because of how much of the advertising budgets in total are actually spent on there. So I did some research on this last year, and I'll give you some Australian numbers and then US numbers as well. So in Australia, the total advertising budget, whether it's digital or traditional, is around about $14 billion. 50% of that is already being spent digitally, right? So $7 billion being spent digitally, including Google and everything like that as well.
Yeah.
But there's already 14 billion in total, 7 there. So it means that really probably another 7 billion in my eyes would probably be coming across to that pretty soon. So that's a pretty hefty sum, which means that prices could potentially double. And in the US, it's 70 and 140. So there's $140 billion, generally speaking, being spent. And then 70 of that is already on digital, and 70, I reckon, in the next couple of years, 3 to 5 years, will transition across. So, and that's not taking into account growth. So once we take into account the growth of those numbers, that might go up to 220 20 billion in Australia. So the prices will increase. They have been increasing over the past few years, but I think it's going to be a more rapid push of that money across to digital. So right now, there's still your ability, if you learn the right strategies and you implement them, the right strategies and tactics, to fight with the big boys. You don't want it to be where it's like cool to run a TV ad, it's $10,000 to run one ad and hopefully you'll get it. Like you still got the opportunity now to do, like almost like a land grab where you can get as many people as possible in front of your products and services for a pretty reasonable price. So the next, 3-5 years, I think we're going to see a big shift of all that money going into digital. So that's why I'm encouraging more and more business owners to really push that across as fast as they can.
So, and I'll make an assumption here, and I don't want to dive too much into something you mentioned before about the strategy and the content, is that the learning is less expensive too, because you got to test and everything, right? So the total cost, not just once you get rolling, it's going to become more expensive to learn how to do it based on the testing, right?
Exactly. And, at the moment, it's still pretty, a lot of people be like, oh, the golden days of Facebook ads when you were getting clicks for half a cent and leads for, 10 cents or whatever it might be. And look, there was a time where that was the case and it was very, very lucrative there, but it still is. If you follow the right processes, you can still test very fast and adequately. Like I categorize it into 2 categories: verification and amplification. So if it's not something that you have to verify if your idea works, but it's like, how do you know that the market will respond to you? Because if you haven't done marketing on Facebook before in a social context, you've got to remember it's like you're going up to someone in a town square or at a bar. Like Facebook categorizes their apps like that as well. So they call the Facebook app itself the digital town square. And then they call Messenger is like the living room. So if you take that context when you think about it, it's like, well, in digital town square, like how are you having a conversation? You don't want to be the beggar on the corner who's like, hey, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. You've got to do it in a different context to attract people towards you and then attract them to actually take action with you as well.
Interesting. I never knew that they referred to those two like that. So, man, this is this is going to be good. So what do you see? Right? What do you see? Some of the common things that people run into that they're not realizing they're either doing wrong or doing ineffectively on Facebook.
Yeah, and look, this is a double answer, so it's a good one for me, which is like, this is what people do wrong, but this is also what they need to do it right. So we have a method which is called the NOC method, which is your niche, your offer, and your copy, or creative as well. You can kind of lump into that last one. So for me, most of the time I see ads that aren't really talking to a specific niche. There's not really an incentivized offer. And when I say offer, not really like get this for $1, it's normally 1,000. But like it's not structured in a way to encourage people to take action to do something about it. And then obviously the copy or creative is not really in alignment with those either. So anytime I look at a campaign, I will look at it and go, okay, what's the niche, what's the offer, and what's the copy? One of those three things, if it's not working, is out of alignment. And that's normally what I see is the biggest problem for people is they don't think about things and plan things out prior. They'll put ads up, they'll run them, just because they're like, I can put up an ad, and then they don't put too much thought into it. So the planning process, I think, is something that a lot of people skip because it's easier than ever to run an ad, especially on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that. People just chuck them up.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if that was a TV ad or a radio ad, you'd spend a lot more time planning, thinking about it, mapping it out, understanding who it is that you're going to. Whereas with Facebook, people are just like, no, I'll just put it up. And it's like, well, that's not really going to be the best and most effective use of your money either, because you haven't done the right planning, which means that it's probably not talking to your right, or for American niche, right? You haven't got the right offer lined up, and you're not probably speaking the right language for those people. So that's the biggest problem that I see. But that's also the big solution for people, is to do that planning and run through just sort of 3 simple letters, and it will just dramatically change what the outcome is that people get. Like it's simple, but I'm a simple guy and I like to do things simply and keep it easy for myself so I can remember them. And if you just literally follow that 3-letter method, like it would drastically change the results people get when it comes to Facebook ads.
So it sounds like those are 3 specific parts you have to be thinking about in regards to an ad. And like, I don't want to say this wrong. So
any ad, like not even on Facebook. Like if you're going to run a TV commercial, you got to run a radio ad. Like if you don't think of those things, like you're not going to get the outcome that you want.
Yeah, because you could have the right niche, but not a good offer, right? Or and you could get in front of a lot of the right people, and they may not be buying. So, well, and you mentioned there the testing part. Is that something important too?
Yeah, so like sometimes what happens when people see and they've heard certain things, and like they might have heard of funnels and all this other sort of stuff. And look, I'm a big advocate of funnels. I wear all Russell Brunson's.
Yeah.
We're in the 2 Comma Club, and we've got a couple plaques. So I love their stuff. Don't get me wrong, but I think a lot of people now are going towards the fact where they think that that's what they need to have to be successful. It's like, oh well, they need to have a funnel in place and all these things. And for me, I'm a big advocate that if you don't know you have to do something, you probably shouldn't do it yet. So for me, I always like to verify things first. So before I would go and build a long-winded funnel and email sequences and follow-ups and all that sort of stuff, I would do a simple ad, like a Facebook lead ad, to verify that my niche offer copy is correct, test it, get people come through, have phone conversations with them. And, I'm probably the anti-digital marketer in this case. A lot of digital marketers like, I want to sell things online and not speak to anyone. I'm happy to have a conversation to see if what we have is going to be in alignment for these people, and my assumptions are going to be correct. So we always work through that. Anytime I launch something new, so we launched something new a couple of weeks ago. I ran ads for a month, tested it, got leads coming through. We had conversations with them. Some of them purchased some of our services, which was great. Then I've gone in and we only just now built a funnel. So I think in total it was actually about 3 months from the idea for the niche and the offer that we had, tested it, verified it, just ran lead ads, got leads come through, spoke to them. We got a few sales. So then it validated our thoughts. Then we built a funnel for it. And now we're going towards scaling that niche and offer. But that was 3 months of running ads before I decided, okay, now we're willing to go and build a funnel and put more time into it. Because if I don't know that the market wants it, and then number two, that they're happy to pay for it, which is you have to find out. It's like, if you don't get a sale from it, it's like, cool, you can get leads, but if you don't have a sale, then what's the point?
Exactly.
So that's the second part of the verification, is actually getting a sale, or three. I always say, like, once is kind of a fluke. 2, we're on track. 3 is the charm. So as soon as I get 3 sales through testing my verification, then I will move on to amplification and start looking at full bigger funnels, ad sequences, custom conversions, all that sort of stuff. But I won't do that until I've made at least 3 sales through my verification process, because then I know that everything's working correctly. Then I'll take it and scale it.
So what does this, going through a process like this, what does it do to the outcome and the result?
It just makes it so much better, right? Because you actually know. So the reason why we do all this as well is because when you go through and you verify and you actually make some sales, you get to know what the actual pain points people are. You get to know all of what their objections are. You get to know why they want to do it, which actually gives you then all of the ammunition that you need on the other side, so that when you go to build something, you're not going, I think this is what their problem is. I think this is the solution to their problem. I think that this is going to help them. You go, no, I know, because we've already had a conversation. They've purchased from us, which is the ultimate form of
verification.
Verification and confirmation. Then when it comes across to this side, it's like, great, we already know all the problems. We know the reason why people won't buy from us. We know the reasons why they will buy from us. We know how to target them. We know which ads work, because again, in that time, there's probably of that 3 months, there's probably 5-10 different images used, 5-10 different audiences tested, all that sort of fun stuff. So we've had the ability to do that through there as well. So it just makes everything much more streamlined and smooth when we go to scale things up.
Yeah, and what you learn is amazing, because at OnPurpose Growth, we're big about client interaction, prospect interaction, feedback. What I just heard you say is, when you get those sales and you hear these and you talk to these people, they build your funnel for you per se, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I love it, man. I love it. So what else? What else do you see that people are having challenges with, or not doing effectively?
The other thing is just like trying to ride on trends. Like, there's a lot of stuff that happened with like messenger marketing over the last couple of years. And as soon as messenger marketing came out, I was really hot on it. We were some of the first people in Australia to build bots out and all that sort of stuff. And look, it's good, but as soon as you rely on a certain trend or fad that comes through and you don't have the fundamentals down pat, it's like as soon as something changes, the whole business model is screwed up. So now, with all these changes with what you can broadcast, what you can't, and sending out messages, which are changing over, they're meant to have changed by 2 days ago, but they've pushed the date out, I think, about another month or two now to March. A lot of people are kind of freaking out, and it's because they haven't got their fundamentals down pat. They haven't figured out what their flow is. So for me, the big one, again, for most people, is when it comes to that planning, is going, cool, if you have a type of campaign, you should never only have like one is the worst number in the world. So if you have one campaign, one lead source or anything like that. And same as like, if you just use Facebook now, like we have Facebook, we have LinkedIn, we have YouTube, we have networking, we have, a huge range of things that we leverage, because I've been caught out where, in the early days had one thing happening, like one campaign on one platform. Oh, suddenly today, Facebook's disabled my ad account.
Yeah.
Then what business halts? It's like, what do I do now? Right. So you've got to kind of cross your fingers and hope that they bring it back up. But then for those couple of days, you're hamstrung. So for me, it's on one thing. So not just only one platform, but if you only have one campaign, as soon as you have one campaign working, you need to start looking at going, hey, what can I do to bring in something else? So for me, one of the big ones is I have a I'll say a method, I don't know, something that I created myself, which is called advertising cycles. Okay. So a lot of people talk about content on Facebook and things like that. You see the likes of like Gary Vee, where he's like, you got to do 100 pieces of content a day and all this stuff. So for me, content is important. because it does get you in front of people, does engage people, and does encourage them to take action. However, the most important thing I think is doing it as part of a cycle. So for me, the cycles are content. We call it our mogul method, which is video content, and we have like a video retargeting strategy.
Okay.
Then building a list, and then having a conversion mechanism. So in an ideal world, if we all had millions of dollars sitting in our pocket spare, you would just do tons of content, amazing content, get in front of your audience, then you would build a list, then you would convert them at some point in time. But for most of us, we're small businesses. We're bootstrapping. We have bills to pay. You can't wait 6 months for that and hope to sit there and be like,
yeah, right.
Make some sales, right? That doesn't work. So for me, the way that I like to think of it, and I recommend for all small businesses, is that you start with a conversion mechanism, i.e. the verification, getting leads coming in, you have a way to be able to convert them. Then you build a list, then you put money into building a list, gathering data, email list, which is going to be offline, off Facebook. So then you've also always got a way that you can send broadcasts out, you can interact with your audience, and then go into content production. And then what you'll find is that they all feed into each other. So it's a cycle, but you need to know what section of the cycle you're at. And so for most people, when they come to us, they are stuck at creating their first conversion method. Then some people, they might already have that. Then I always recommend them to list build, and then it's go into content production as well. In an ideal world, you could do all three at the same time, but I always recommend, so you've got to get your conversion mechanism down. Yeah. Then you can do list building, then go into content, and then your content will flow into each of those as well. So it's a cycle, I think, and for a lot of people, I think just because you hear something, and it's like repetition, like Gary Vee on content, and it's like, yes, content's good, but if you don't have a way to get leads in and make sales yet, you're not sitting there doing content all day. I'm sorry, I don't care how much you care about doing a podcast or anything like that. If you ain't making sales, go back over here, generate leads, make some sales, and then you can flow back down.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I've talked to some people on, I'm over on LinkedIn a lot, and they just post content and wait for leads to come through. And they're like, this really isn't working. I'm like, well, because you need to do something else on top of it, right? So in this cycle, or also in this, like, with these, trends that you see, do you guys actually have kind of different products that you're creating on the time? Like, you're not living on just one product?
No, exactly. So we always started our business. We only ever used to do like done for you marketing when we very first started, where we would build it all out for people and we would just do that. And as a byproduct of that, because I had to have so many staff to do that, it was very expensive. But I was like, well, the original reason why I got started is because I wanted to help people that didn't have that ability. So it's like, I'm not really serving the people that I wanted to help as well. So then we developed online training programs where we help people implement the same system we do for people. And then again, that was still a reasonable investment. So then we've kind of built out either standalone products or bigger training programs that people can do chunks of, to be able to go, you're just starting out here, get these parts in place. You're ready to do content. Cool. Here's a training on how to do our mogul method. Go and do that content piece. You want to build your list, great. You need this product. If you want to do this, great. You need this, so that we can really help people across that full spectrum of that. Because it's like, if we only just had one thing, it's hard. And look, it's probably just the shiny object syndrome that that every entrepreneur has anyway. I just need to create another thing. So we try. I have a good team who are pretty good at like holding me back and being like, whoa, like, do we need to do this whole new thing here? Probably not. Okay, great. Like, let's do that next year. So that we can make sure that when we build them, they're awesome, and they help make sure that people get results with them. So we never used to track it either. And we'd be like, we give people a training program and they would do it. And I was like, oh, but I wonder, like, then people were like, what are the results? And I had a few like testimonials, and I'm like, but maybe I should track for every single person that joins what happens. So since I started doing that, we've been able to get some really good metrics. So we know that now, on average, that when people start with us, they get a 16 times return on their investment by following our strategy. So I was like, wow, that's a pretty good number to have. So I was like, I wish I tracked it from the very beginning. But by doing that, at least now we can tell. And when people ask, it's like, look, I can tell you the system works. You can see testimonials and case studies, but I've also got the full tracking. So I know that when people implement these things, so that's why, again, it's like, this is not just something that I hypothesize works. It's like, it's been implemented by now over 100 people. And after over 100 people have implemented it, they've been able to generate themselves at least 15 times returns. Some are tremendously high, much higher than that.
Yeah.
Our best did over $1 million with the system that we have. And then the worst has been like someone just didn't take any action and they didn't do anything. So
yeah. That we all know the problem in that one. Yeah. Right. That's what I was going to say. You said the average was 16. Like that's just the average, right? That's not that's not what some other results people are getting. So, well, listen, man, I appreciate you being on, and I love this conversation. It is crystal clear. You know exactly how this works and what you're doing. And I don't know if any of the listeners caught it, but Kim is in the 2 comma club. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So, Kim, why don't you share with everybody how they can get a hold of you or find you?
Definitely. So we're all over the internet. So you can find me. I'm pretty much at Real Kim Barrett on every platform. If you want to find me,
okay.
Instagram, on Facebook, we're there, and on our company page as well as Your Social Voice. So we're pretty much Your Social Voice on every platform too, Facebook, Instagram, and whatnot. Our websites are www.yoursocialvoice.com.au and www.kimbarrett.com.au if you want to find out more about us. We do have yoursocialvoice.com, but don't go to kimbarrett.com because there's some lady who bought kimbarrett.com and she does not want to sell it to me. So I'm like, I wonder how many people just when they hear me, especially in America, just go to kimbarrett.com and this lady gets all this traffic. Hopefully one day soon she'll give it to me. But up until this point, 5 years on, I still haven't been able to interest her enough to give it to me yet. So
someday, man, someday. Well, thanks again for being on, and everybody who was listening or watching. Don't worry, if you didn't write those websites down and his contact info, we're going to share it here wherever this is posted. So just take a look to the side or below, and we'll have all that info. So, Kim, thanks again for being on, and thanks everybody for tuning in to this episode of the Caesar Business Podcast. My name is Bryan McDonald, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Thanks so much for watching our video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Click the subscribe button for new videos every week, and download and review us on iTunes. Visit learn-about-law.com for other legal-related articles and videos. Visit our business podcast and video blog, caesarbusiness.com, and visit Making Real Estate Fun for real estate videos and podcasts. Call us at 630-324-6666 for a free consultation.